welcome to Chatter, where we discuss things that matter. So on our last episode, our part A, we were talking about boundaries. And as Joe was talking, I was triggered. I actually realized a lot about myself. I thought I had all these clear boundaries, and I thought I had, I thought I knew a lot more about boundaries than I actually got to know y'all. Because with your personalities, I didn't know y'all had issues with boundaries. I knew me and Tasha had issues, but I never knew that y'all had issues with boundaries because your personalities are so strong. I think your energy would tell people, back up. And I realized I depend a lot on my energy and being a tall, bigger woman. Like, okay, I can just give you a look and you're going to back up off me. So I don't have to do a lot of talking because communication is not my strong point, believe it or not. So, but Joe said something about triggers, and it just started making me think about the things that we assume people would know that they don't know. And we get triggered, and people sitting up trying to figure out, well, why they acting like that? And it really is our stuff that we need to own and work through, because that person may not have even meant it. So like one of me and Tasha's debates all the time is I cuss a lot, okay? So it's taking everything in me to sit on an episode for 20 minutes and not cuss. And I think I've done very well, because it should have been about 3 or 4 F-bombs and some shit and, other stuff. So, like when me and Lydia, when me and Lydia used to party, she used to be like we'd be out somewhere, she'd be like, oh my God, I need a censor button. So I curse a lot. My family curse. That's our thing. It's just like an adjective to me. It's not, because I have this theory that any word can be used as a curse word. Like, you could make me feel worse never saying one profanity.
Yeah, definitely.
Than get the fuck out of here. You know what I'm saying? So, I use it freely. I curse at my children. They don't even pay no attention. They, people get in the car and they be like, oh, I'm sorry, baby. Sometimes you cuss around you. My kids still doing what they doing. Like, they ain't even heard it. Okay? Tasha fusses at me all the time about cursing. Just cursing. She fusses at me all the time. Don't cuss at the babies. Lord, don't cuss at the babies. Or when me and Tony would communicate, because me and my husband would cuss at each other. I'd keep it moving and be lovey-dovey at the same time. For her, cursing is a trigger. Okay. Even though she cussed me out. So I'm not clear on how that is. But...
Because you already told me it don't bother you.
So I know that cursing is a trigger for her,
Right. So I guess it's not as simple as just a curse word, which is almost what you're saying. It is just a word. So for me, the trigger is all the energy that is behind it and how it comes off. And I say, and your kids are older. I guess I'm used to it, whatever. I guess sometimes it bothered me, back in the day, because almost like with boundaries, kids can't really say, oh, that didn't really make me feel good, mommy. So, and I'm taking on stuff that probably ain't none of my business. But because of how I grew up, I didn't have that opportunity to express how it felt in my household. It did become a trigger. So anytime if you're really, really angry and you're mad, you're upset with someone, and when you curse, that does become a trigger, because that is, and then I couldn't articulate how I felt, so I just kept all that stuff in. So that is kind of sort of where it comes from, in that fact that I couldn't express myself.
If it makes you feel any better, my son will say it's a word I use that he'd be like, Mama, don't call me that.
And
he does.
And it speaks volumes too. I think it comes from as a culture where we have progressed to. I really think we have, where our kids do feel a little bit more comfortable sometimes saying something like that. And so for me, it was just a trigger. It's just it's all the energy behind it. If someone's really, really upset and and you're cursing at me too, it does. It becomes, Lydia said earlier, my whole body tenses up and stuff like that, because we all go back to that childhood trauma. And when you're a child, you can't really go anywhere or do anything. And
You
I
gotta
don't,
just live
you know,
through it.
and I don't want to make it seem like anybody was beating my ass. Oops.
Speaking of person,
Obviously, this is the episode. So I don't want to make it seem like I was growing up, you know, and stuff like that. But there was things that happened, and you know, I worked hard at making sure that my kids don't see it, and so that is a trigger. And I guess I curse, you know, because in my heart, I'm really never as angry as when it triggers me.
yeah.
Oh,
That makes
okay.
sense.
Yeah.
So like when we argue, people say we argue. I just be doing.
Yeah, we just be
you know,
playing.
we just be
It
like,
sounds
hey,
like an argument, but
just
we
you know,
just
it's
playing.
banter back and forth.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so
not to
triggering
give
is-
one of her triggers, because I'm sure she got some others. So I wanted to know what your triggers were. So who want to go first?
Oh, something you said in the beginning that I sort of kind of disagree when you said that sometimes we get upset with people because they're doing things and they don't even know it violates us or they should not be doing it. I don't know how I feel about that statement because I deal with grown people. And I truly believe that people know what they're doing. I'm not saying all the time,
Yeah.
but I think people know what they're doing. So I'm just saying that, you know, that's
No,
just
no,
how,
I do.
that's
I
just
do.
how I feel about, you can't tell me as a grown person, as a grown woman, that if you say something insensitive. Now, if I don't, I mean, something that's insensitive is insensitive.
But if you a sensitive person by nature,
Yeah.
if you a sensitive person, I'm a water sign, I'm a Cancer, I'm
Yeah,
sensitive.
sensitive.
So you might do or say something until it didn't even cross your mind it should bother somebody because you know why? It wouldn't have bothered you. But because it didn't bother you,
Doesn't
I mean,
mean
it
no
bothers
bother.
me.
I'm struggling with that because okay, so let me tell you what one of my triggers are. One of my triggers are when people are disrespecting me and they're being disrespectful. Now I have to define that. I understand I have to define disrespectful. So that's in creating a boundary. So, but I see how you operate with other people and you don't do that. So I do know that you know the difference.
well then that's different because you
Yeah,
have
because
something,
they
you
think
have a
it's okay.
I have a base. I have
you
a
do,
base and I have
yeah.
a reference point. So, you know, so I kind of,
Well, and it could go into this don't bother Joe. You know what I'm saying? Because of that image of having this strong personality.
okay.
That some people may not think it will bother you.
And that's
they
where-
feel like it will bother somebody else.
So-
and that's where the clear boundaries come into place.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
I
this does bother me.
and I do have a problem articulating that this bothers me because, like, I believe that you should know this. So I'm fuming inside, and I don't know how to say it without going to a certain place, and I don't want to go there. You know what I'm saying? So I have learned. So through grace of God and through prayer, I can say, you know, I really didn't appreciate that.
But then is it any particular, like when you were talking about what did you say? See, this that 40-year-old brain. You said being insensitive, saying insensitive things, and people not knowing. So since I'm living in a different cultural background now, you know, going from the A to South Carolina, I've had people say stuff that if all they deal with is other people in their culture, I've had people say stuff and they not even know that it's insensitive.
Yeah.
Now, me being the person I am, I don't mind putting your shoes on for you, okay? And I don't care if it offends you. I don't care if it hurts your feelings. I don't care. Because if I'm communicating with you and you want to be my friend, I'm going to need you to be better.
Okay, so that's it right there. If you are dealing with someone that you want to deal with, then you have the empathy, and then you can go ahead and explain it to people. So I get that.
No, and the
I was
educator
supposed to-
in me, because I know you like, it ain't my responsibility. It ain't. The educator in me too.
How you know what I was gonna say?
Because I know you.
I was like, it ain't my responsibility
Yes.
to treat people how to treat. But it ain't my. Me and Tasha had a big discussion about this and how she thinks. I'm still struggling with that because I feel like I should not have to teach you how to treat me. And I know it's so corny and things like that, but I try to live by the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And I know that's so far out there, but there's a part of me that I understand if you do it unintentionally. Then I say, you know what? This ain't working for me. But I really have a problem if I call you my friend and I say, don't do this, don't say this. That hurt my feelings. Like,
Yeah, I'm not gonna
You
do that with
don't,
my
you don't
friends.
know?
Okay, now
You
I'm
don't
not,
know?
like I'm not gonna do that with my close friends. I'm not, because most of my close friends I've been knowing for forever.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't feel
I'm
like
not doing
I have
mine
to.
close either.
They know me by now.
Yeah.
And the ones who are still doing, I was about to say, still doing stuff like that.
You gotta.
Then I'm gonna limit our interaction.
And that's what I have done. But
If
see, that's
set
it.
the boundaries.
Yeah.
You set the boundary. That's it. You
right.
set the
I just
boundary.
fall back.
Because my triggers were being disrespectful, and I have to say, well, maybe it's not you doing. Maybe your just is disrespectful.
Yeah.
Right.
So
maybe that's who you
now
are.
I
As a
have
person,
to
right.
exit
And I gotta
stage left.
reevaluate.
So my
Right.
triggers
Yeah.
are being disrespectful, and what I have to discern from that is like, was this just a slip of the tongue? Was
Or
this
is this
just
who you
something
are?
that ignorance, or is this
Or
who
was it
you are?
person?
And that's what I have to decide. Because one of my triggers are being disrespectful. Because as strong as I am, and as aggressive and assertive people think you can't find one person that say Joe disrespected me
Yes.
out the blue.
Yes.
I'm a
Yes.
reactionist. Don't start, no,
Yep.
won't be no. If you don't say nothing to me, I won't ever say anything to you. I respond to what people say. What has gotten me in trouble is how I respond.
Yeah.
But I have never in my life just started with someone. I've just been, that's just not just who I am. And I can say that confidently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's what bothers me because I don't go around disrespecting people.
Yeah.
What's
For
your
me,
trigger?
that disrespect is a huge thing. I don't know. Maybe it's the New York. I don't know. I keep saying the New York thing, but
Respect.
Yeah, respect, son.
Respect, son. We don't do all that.
So like we could disagree, we could do whatever, we could whatever. But when you cross a line with me, it's like I black out completely. And that's when we have gone to another level, and I may not be able to come back from that in a relationship with you. Like I just can't do it. And so even with my kids, I just recently had a little situation with one of my kids, and as you were talking, I was like, well, what's my trigger? It was not the act. It wasn't what she was supposed to vacuum something. She didn't do it. It wasn't that. It was I felt disrespected because I asked, and those were my actual words. She was crying. She's like, I said, what are you crying for? She said, because you're yelling at me and I didn't do anything. And I said, you did. You disrespected me. And I got like street with her. I was like, you disrespected me in my house. I paid for it. And I was like, whoa. She's 12. But it like she took me to another level because I asked her 3 times, and I told her I provide for you every day. I was like, every day I get up for you and your sister and your brother, and I'm doing this and that. I asked you to vacuum. Like all you had to do is go like that. Then I got dramatic with it, and it was just a lot. But then I had to reflect. I said, "Oh, she disrespected me,
she got a
and I got to
20-year-old
work on
brain.
that." Yeah, and so
And it don't work.
and even just some childhood stuff, like I just saw one of my parents, and my parents said something to me, like, and he thought he was approaching me, like, very simply. He's like, hey, before you go back to the car, this, blah, 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 blah. He says it. I literally did like this and started crying. I was like, this is not the time to be talking to me about this. And he was like, whoa, come here, and tried to hug me, like. But when I got back in the car, I was like, that was a lot. Why did I do that?
Yeah.
But then I thought about it. He literally took me back to a place in Queens where something went down with this person he's now defending and trying to get me to check my kids about how they're talking to this person who put our family in a really bad situation back in 1980 something. Like and he thought he was just approaching me about how my kids are interacting with someone.
Yeah.
And it's like, hey, last time they were around, they didn't really speak, and I need them to. Whoa, don't be. And I just totally.
And that was a total trigger.
Yes,
and that is
and
my
that
whole
was a
point about
total
triggers. Something that's simple
Yes.
can blow up into something else.
Yeah.
And that goes into the counseling.
Yeah.
Because if you get in counseling, sometimes you can dig into these triggers and the stuff won't be triggers anymore.
Yeah.
Like,
It'll
you
be
need
an
to
event
still.
in your life.
That was an
That's it.
event. Stuff you still got to work at. Because I think our triggers tell us the stuff that we still need to work on.
Good point.
You know,
Okay.
I do.
They like the M's in the fire. This smoke.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Then
You calm because something that simple as somebody saying, your child ain't speaking. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like
Yes.
something basic, something we want our children to do
And-
and not be rude.
Yes, and that's what I said. I said I don't raise my kids to be rude. So I was struggling too. I was like, wait a minute, they ain't speaking. But then I'm like, they shouldn't be speaking anyway. You know what I'm saying? I was conflicted. So I, as I drove over here, I said, that means I need closure from that situation. You know, because I've talked about it. I spent a lot of money talking about that situation in counseling.
Oh, wow.
But now I need to confront those people and say,
get some closure.
and get closure from it so we can move on. And I feel like, because I don't know what my kids are. My kids are very polite, but they probably feel my energy when I'm around that person. I'm like, right here, she don't belong here.
Yes, and they've heard conversations that we don't think they hear.
Yes.
So it's like, my mama don't like you.
Yes. So
I like what you said, Dee, about triggers. But we didn't even know that. But now, like what you're saying, triggers are indicators that there's something that we still need to work on.
Going on.
Because that thing that they said is attached to emotion, a negative experience in the past. And I don't know how the brain works, but how that thing could make me would take me back to 1980, all the way up here. So you know, so subconsciously it's still there somewhere, and I have termed this negative. I have termed this bad.
Something basic.
Something basic. So
to
that's
somebody else is basic.
Yeah.
But
So
to you it's a whole situation.
So and you know, I think that's a good point that triggers make us think that let us know that there's something else that we need to work on. So
that's Tasha, do you have one?
Oh, sorry.
I'm so sorry. No.
Do you have one?
You don't have no what triggers?
Not that I know of.
Now you just triggered me. You just triggered me.
I mean, because you know what? Because cursing to me is really not a trigger. Like it's not. I wouldn't say it's a trigger.
So you don't have no bother you.
No.
You're not saying anything bothers me. You're saying things that take me out of my character and make me feel like I no longer have control over my emotions.
No, that's not what I said. I said
you don't think that's what triggers are?
I said a trigger was something that is done in the present that is attached to something.
Take you way back.
And it said nothing about controlling no emotions.
Because you gonna control your emotions and then call me later.
You got that from?
You talking about?
I'm like,
I don't know why.
I don't. Well, tell me why, dude. What's my trigger, dude? Tell me.
No, I told you one I know of. I'm asking do you know of any other
can't,
ones? You can't think of one.
I really can't think of any trigger right now. Come back to me.
All right, we're gonna come back.
That's right.
So we work with people. All of us work with people. So how do you deal with a person, a client? We have clients. How do you deal with a person when their triggers come out? You do something and then you realize they kind of like either snap out or you see an emotion that you didn't intend. How do you repair that? When, especially you don't know. Like I see 190 something kids a day, and as an administrator, 1,300. I'm gonna say something or do something. Like for example, and when I used to teach, I used to say. I use the word ghetto a lot. Like, oh my God, that's so ghetto. Or girl, you know, blah, blah, blah. Oh, look at my nails. They so ghetto. Like, because I like that kind of stuff. And, but a student stopped me after school, after class, and was like, that is offensive to me. And I was like, and she told me it was a trigger for her because, and she went down this whole line. But for me, like, I grew up in the hood and I love it. I embrace it. You know what I'm saying? But that was something she wanted to get far away from. And she felt like I was being disrespectful because she saw the space I'm in now. She sees the kind of car I drive. You know, the neighborhood I live in, all that. So in her mind, I wasn't living in the projects in the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? So that triggered her even further. So a professional using that term, you know what I'm saying? So, but I had to repair that with that student and get that student to trust me again. And I was willing to do the work. I was like, well, that's her issue.
Right.
She needed to deal with that. I was like, I caused harm. I'm going to repair that harm, even though it was unintentional. So how do y'all do that?
So wait, you asking how do we do?
Do y'all have ever triggered someone and have you fix it?
Oh, if they have let us know that
okay,
I got you now. Okay.
Now that part of communication I do pretty good, especially with my students. And I guess because I have to do behaviors all day, that's what I do. If I see something's happening, I'm pretty good at explaining to children a different point of view, or I try to get them to look at a different point of view because I'm big on that. Everybody does not think the same, see the same. So what's the point of view? Like just because you feel like that does not mean so. And I found that sharing your truth, as people say, I hate to use these cliche words, but sharing your reality, because people assume things. Most people who would meet you wouldn't think you had half of the experiences that you've had.
Yeah.
So explaining and just communicating, not letting it be you're a child and I'm an adult.
I think,
and I was,
I think you should. If it were me too, I would try to offer an apology. Like that wasn't my intent.
Yeah, that was
I
right.
think
Yeah.
I think you have to validate the feeling
You
before
do.
you
Yes.
give them a
I was
different
about to say,
feeling.
Deidre, that's a mess.
Like I do think you need to do that. But before you
It
do
comes
that,
in that.
yeah, but like the first thing you have to do is acknowledge their hurt, acknowledge their.
Thank you. Come on.
acknowledge
You
their-
didn't say that.
I know, but
You didn't say that. Come on.
but somebody that's listening might not. They see they didn't.
You
I
didn't
go to
say
school
that.
and fools. That's what
That's why I was like, Deidre,
No, I
that
was
is
talking about
some
the
mess.
steps. Of course you
No,
have to
but
acknowledge.
you didn't
But
say
you
that.
did.
You
Okay.
went right into
did.
you need to help them
you
see
do
it another
you do
way.
try to, but I do think, and I do think that's important
You
for
gotta
you
hear
to
their point of
acknowledge.
view first.
I
No,
understand
but the student came up and gave their point of view.
And
so
you said-
because she already said, well, hey, when you said this makes me feel. So you have to acknowledge that was not my intent to make you feel that way.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
apologize.
and then you didn't-
yeah.
Okay, so maybe I
and
will
so
apologize.
that's something I work
I
on.
was like, that's a
Maybe I don't
mess. So you don't
apologize.
even acknowledge the person?
Yes, I acknowledge the person.
But that's not what you said, Tasha. Is that what she said?
Trent, we didn't already.
And episode 2 and the second one. But yeah, that's it. No, yeah, and I think everything after that, yeah.
You do.
I mean, will you?
You
I do think
apologize and then you explain.
yes.
Now, and when
Because
I say
I would
explain,
want somebody
listen,
to
you gotta
apologize
listen
and
first.
explain to me. You know what
You
I'm saying?
gotta
Like,
listen
yeah.
to the person first. Too.
I can see D don't apologize.
You know what?
No, I know your personality. You don't.
We all agree. Raise your hand if you think Dia apologize first.
Raise your hand if you think.
Oh no, she thinks she don't.
And she does not apologize. I mean, we have to go by what she just said.
You just said it.
I've experienced it.
And that's
Yeah,
what
I
I said.
apologize.
Look, I said D is a, and so she's trying to get you
Yeah,
to
yeah,
her
Let
perspective.
me show you why I'm saying that, lady.
Yeah, yeah, that's her.
So,
now
I'll
I
start
acknowledge.
apologizing.
Yes, because you know what?
Look at me. You know what? But you know what it is, D?
You a mess.
I think, you know what? How about this? Maybe this is a trick of yours. Maybe it goes back to when you apologize, you feel like you're taking responsibility for something that's not your fault. All you're doing is just saying, you did not want to make that person, you never want to make somebody feel bad.
No,
No.
it's never
You understand what I'm
intentional.
saying? So maybe
I know
you
that's
feel
true.
like when you
That's
apologize, you're
I'm
taking
taking
on
on
some
their
stuff,
stuff.
but
That
you're
ain't
not.
mine.
And that's
Right,
your
but,
thing.
but
You
you're not.
definitely
All
not
you're
gonna
doing
say
is
yeah.
apologizing for, like, dang, I didn't mean, that ain't where I was coming from when I said ghetto, my bad. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I can see, you know, when people
Okay, so
have a
maybe
hard
I'll
time,
work on saying
that
I'm
is-
sorry, but I like
I like
that
the
one.
way
Maybe
you
that's
did
it.
it.
And,
Okay, that's how
and
it
I'm going
is.
to tell you
Whatever it
what, you know, I apologize because that's always, when you, I feel like I've matured because when you sorry, that becomes negative towards you as
Yeah.
well. Has a negative connotation. I'm just apologizing for that. Yeah.
Come
I
on,
learned how to say
Ayala.
sorry.
Yeah.
That's a powerful word. I learned how to say sorry like a year ago, and like really mean it, like
And now
really.
I'm sorry if I
Yes.
hurt you.
Like, I have
I'm
all these
sorry
other things.
I
If.
hurt
Yeah.
you. I don't. That wasn't
Yeah.
my intent.
That's hard.
I'm
Right.
sorry I hurt you. I don't
Yeah,
need, and
yeah.
I'm not going to try to explain why I did what I did until I feel like that you have received my apology.
Right.
Because what I feel like that does is now you're making
negates
an excuse that you're
Okay.
not really
Well,
acknowledging, and you don't.
You're
hear
not
me.
validating my. You're making me feel like my feelings don't matter. Hey, maybe that's a trigger for
That's
me.
a trigger for me. I know that.
Yeah, I was finna
Maybe
say,
that's
I-
something.
I
Yeah,
feel
that's
but
like
I
anytime-
don't feel like and people do this to me all the time.
Oh,
What?
Jesus, what?
No, people make me feel like I'm being oversensitive. And
Oh, well, hell, you are.
oh, here's what to say. She just
Well,
said
this
it,
is
America.
what- Okay, well, anyway, I just wanted to chat a little bit about triggers and us. My takeaway is I think we need to acknowledge our triggers. I learned something about myself. My ass don't apologize. My husband been telling me that for years.
Oh wow.
But I ain't about listening to him. So, the takeaway is if you're triggered by stuff that should be simple, maybe it's something you got to work on. And so,
But
we'll see-
don't let that person off the, but let them know what they've done now. I mean, I'm gonna
Yeah,
look
don't
at
let the person
myself.
off
we
the
know.
hook.
Don't let-
Okay, so Joe, take us out.
No, I'm just saying. No, I'm just saying that
You know-
there's so many ways to look at being triggered. There's
Yes,
so
it
many
is.
triggers. That's the buzzword nowadays. We have triggers. We cause triggers. We ignite
Yes,
triggers.
yes,
So I
yes.
think we have to understand the whole totality of it. And you know what? At the bottom line, we're human.
Yes.
We
Oh,
and I don't think any of the any of the women that I know and love, all those that sit in here, we don't mean to.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
So take responsibility when it happens.
Yes.
Okay.
And then understand when it's happening to you and where to go.
Yes.
Because what I don't want to be, I don't want to be a ticking bomb all my life.
Yep.
No.
And I don't want to always react, just explode.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So I'm glad that I've learned through this episode that triggers are something I need to deal with. But we all have them. Like I said, we ignite them, we create them, and sometimes they're inflicted upon us.
Yes.
But learning how to deal with them as grown
Yes.
women.
True.
Yeah,
True.
that's
I
what
like
we
it.
need
I
to
like
do.
it.
All right.
So, join us next time.
As we chatter.
About
About
things
what
that
matter.
matter.
Matter. Oh, y'all corny.